Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to have the definitive breakdown and gameplay guide for the Titan Exotic Gauntlets Second Chance. The Second Chance Exotic was recently reworked with the release of Season 21, causing shield throws to now weaken targets that are hit by this ability. Also, when you stun a barrier champion with your shield throw, that melee charge you used to stun the champion will be instantly refunded to you. Because this exotic now allows our melee to weaken targets, we're going to have way more synergy with our Void subclass aspects and fragments, allowing for more uptime on overshields, more orbs to be generated, and more debuffs to be applied through our first aspect, Controlled Demolition. Controlled Demolition provides 2 fragment slots and states the following. Hitting a target with a void ability or volatile explosion makes them volatile. Further damage to a volatile target causes them to explode. Grants you and nearby allies health when volatile targets explode near you. What makes this aspect so great is that by having access to fragments that allow grenades to weaken enemies, we also have 2 melees that have access to weaken. Since all of these abilities also synergize with Controlled Demolition, all of these weaken abilities will also apply volatile to any enemies they hit. Not to mention, if you run the suppressor grenade, one suppressor grenade can weaken, suppress, and apply volatile, giving this kit and this exotic tremendous flexibility in endgame content. Our second aspect that will pair with our exotic armor is Bastion. Bastion provides 2 fragment slots and states, casting your barricade grants overshield to yourself and nearby allies and empowers it, enabling it to slowly regenerate the overshield of allies bunkering behind it and extend their overshield duration. Rally Barricade will be our barricade of choice. First, because it has a faster cooldown, and second, because it has so many valuable benefits that it provides. Rally Barricades provide increased reload, weapon stability, range, and flinch resistance, all while giving you that powerful overshield. Next, we're going to move on to talking about our first aspect in this build, Echo of Persistence. Echo of Persistence is going to allow our overshields as well as Devour to have an increased duration. And while at first thought, you might think this is just for our Bastion Rally Barricade, this is actually going to pair and synergize into our second fragment in the build, Echo of Starvation. Echo of Starvation is going to allow us to gain Devour upon picking up either a Void Breach or an Orb of Power. So, when we think about our first 2 aspects, we have the ability to pick up Void Breaches and Orbs of Power to gain Devour. While we have Devour, our first aspect we discussed, Echo of Persistence, will give us additional time not only with Devour, but also with our Void Overshields from Repulsor Brace or from our Bastion Rally Barricade. These 2 fragments, when paired with our exotic and our aspects, are giving us a plethora of utility on the battlefield. We'll be gaining Devour to instantly regenerate our health on enemy defeats or when collecting orbs. We'll be giving ourselves and our teammates protection through our Bastion Rally Barricades. And lastly, we want to start thinking about how we can start taking full advantage of our first aspect, Controlled Demolition. Our third fragment in the build, which will tie so many things together, is Echo of Undermining. Echo of Undermining is going to allow our Void Grenades to weaken enemies on hit for 5 seconds. This is a 15% debuff that will synergize so well with our first 2 fragments and our first aspect, Controlled Demolition. Once any enemy is hit by our abilities, whether that be a shield throw or one of our Void Grenades, they are going to take that extra 15% incoming damage due to the weakened debuff, while also becoming volatile due to Controlled Demolition. On that note, we should also mention the insane utility of Shield Throw. Shield Throw, when paired with this exotic, the Controlled Demolition aspect, and Echo of Persistence, is going to allow us to be able to apply Weaken, apply Volatile, and gain an extended overshield all from a singular shield throw. And if all of that sounded great, we'll really start to take things up another level when we pair all of this together with our fourth and final fragment of the build, Echo of Harvest. Echo of Harvest is going to allow our 2 shield throws and our singular Void Grenade to generate an Orb of Power and a Void Breach when we defeat a weakened enemy. This final fragment ties everything into the kit together nicely. The Orbs of Power not only feed our Devour, giving us full health on kill, but also giving us grenade ability energy. These grenades apply Weaken, thus allowing us to repeat this loop. But weakened enemies will also drop a Void Breach, providing 12.5% class ability energy. This class ability energy is helpful in keeping our Bastion Rally Barricade off of cooldown, then synergizing with Echo of Persistence to allow more access to Void Overshields in combat and for longer durations. The Orbs of Power not only give us access to Devour and its extended length through Persistence, but it also provides us ability energy through our leg armor mods. All Orbs of Power collected, which we can produce quite frequently through this fragment, feed into our armor charges that we'll discuss further in the next section of the video. Now let's dive into our armor mods, full breakdown. Our first piece of armor is the helmet. On our helmet, we're going to be running 1 copy of Ashes to Assets, Heavy Ammo Finder, and Void Siphon. We're essentially converting the high uptime of our grenade ability into super energy for one of the fastest generating supers in the game, Ward of Dawn. On our arms, we have a multitude of ways that we'll be able to help loop our abilities and keep our abilities synergizing with our fragments. First is 1 copy of Impact Induction for a 20% gain to our grenade ability upon successful melee hit. This does incur a 7-second cooldown between each activation. I'm stating this because we have 2 charges of our melee in this build. Next is 1 copy of Momentum Transfer for a 20% gain to our melee ability upon dealing ability damage with our grenade. And our last mod is Grenade Kickstart, which when paired with Devour, ensures a potent ability uptime for our grenade by refunding up to 23.4% of our grenade ability upon activating our grenade with full armor charges. As for our chest, we'll be running 1 copy of Concussive Dampener to reduce PvE AoE damage by 15%, 1 copy of Harmonic Resistance, reducing Void PvE damage by 15%, and 1 copy of Charged Up to allow our armor charge capacity to max out at 4 charges. With our legs, we'll be running 1 copy of Innervation for a 10% jump in grenade ability upon collecting an Orb of Power, 1 copy of Invigoration, which provides 10% melee ability energy on Orb of Power pickups. And for the final mod slot, you have the option to go with either Stacks on Stacks, Insulation, or Elemental Charge. The last mods we'll discuss are our Mark mods. On our Mark, we recommend running 1 copy of Reaper to generate an Orb of Power upon your next kill after activating your class ability. 1 copy of Reaper and 1 copy of Outreach, which will each individually provide 12% ability energy to either your melee or your grenade after activating your class ability. This build's armor stat focus is on maximum resilience to ensure we have our overshield as often as possible, as well as maximum discipline, to also ensure we have high uptime on our weaken debuff from our grenade, thus allowing us to keep all of our gameplay loops active. And for those with a keen eye, you may have noticed that we've been receiving Void overshields from collecting the many Void breaches we've been generating. Currently, during Season 21, our artifact allows us access to the mod Protective Breach. Protective Breach states that collecting a Void breach provides a Void overshield or refreshes your existing Void overshield, giving this build even more survivability in its current state. But fret not, because if you're watching this outside of Season 21, this by no means is going to lower the quality of this build, it's just merely giving it some extra bells and whistles. And if you're thinking about what weapons pair really well into this build, we found that weapons such as Riptide with Chill Clip for unstoppable champions helps flesh out this build and makes it more well-rounded. Also, Le Monarque is incredibly potent if you don't want to sacrifice your grenade choice. Commemoration is great for ad clearing. Collective Obligation is superb as it can access and leech your Void debuffs frequently. And lastly, Izanagi's Burden, to take advantage of the Kinetic Special Ammo Weapon bonus with your 15% weakened debuffs. And with that, we're going to conclude the build guide. This has been our definitive breakdown and gameplay guide for the Titan Exotic Gauntlet's Second Chance. As always, we appreciate all of your viewership and all of your support. If you would consider taking a moment to be sure to subscribe to the channel and that you have the bell turned on for notifications so that you're notified when our next video is live, we would greatly appreciate that. Take care, Guardians, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.